Hi, and welcome to the Tranquil Cottage Knits podcast. I'm your host, Michelle. You can find me on Ravelry as Tranquil Cottage, Instagram is Tranquil Cottage Knits, and you can find the blog at www.tranquilcottageknits.weebly.com. So hi, happy Sunday. It is, oh my goodness, it is like 65 out here, and it's amazing. I am so excited to be able to podcast outside for multiple reasons. It has been a hot mess here the last 2 weeks. Maybe cold mess. Cold mess is probably a better term. My husband and I are trying to enjoy as much outdoor time today as we can. Obviously, with today being Sunday, we go back to work tomorrow. And it has been so miserable and cold and frigid that we just really wanted a break and to enjoy out here as much as we can. So, lots of goings on. As always, I am out here in the yard in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley with the dogs, Tucker and Callie, who keep trying to dig a hole in the yard because, oh my goodness, the ground is soft enough today and there might be a rock or something with an interesting smell under there. So I'm trying to keep them from digging holes. But at the same time, they just have so much pent-up energy from being in the house as well. Me, not so much. It is warm enough that, I could roll around naked on the grass. So excited for this weather. Hey, babes. So, let's see. It has been cold, like teens, and wind chill lower around here.
Around like 5 or 10.
What?
Nighttime temps around 5 or 10.
Oh, nighttime temps around 5 or 10 degrees. The problem with this is it really wouldn't be so bad except for, not this past week, but the week before, I'm sitting at work and my ear starts aching. And I went from having an earache to sinus headaches to being stuffy, runny, miserable. Basically just miserable. So then I went to work Saturday, and my wonderful husband went with me, and we had our corporate inspection, and I was so glad because when we had our corporate inspection, there are some things that they require remediation on, which just basically means this isn't up to par, that's not up to par, and they want you to go ahead and fix it. Well, let me tell you, when you go to submit that final revision, you are hoping that everything that you've put into place is acceptable to them. Sometimes it's silly, like we have a desk that we cannot get a laminate replacement for because we can't find anything to match. And it has to be specific colors as deemed by corporate. And I can't find anything. So I basically band-aided it and sweated that photo going to them so much to see if they were going to accept it or not. So man, you sit there with your finger on that enter button and you just don't know whether or not to push it. And then you just suck it up, take a deep breath, and you push it. And then you're like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And it is horrible. It's horrible. So, I submitted our remediation last Sunday and, wrung my hands about it because it's my responsibility. It's part of my job. So I wrung my hands about it. I worried about it and I fretted about it. And Monday morning I got in the office and I called corporate right away and said, hey, I just need to know, is this good? What are we going to do about this? Is this acceptable? And lo and behold, I said, yeah, these look good. Go ahead, email us this, and we'll get back to you in 3 or 4 weeks. So I emailed my bosses, said, hey, 3 to 4 weeks, we should know something. Within an hour, they emailed me back and said, congratulations, you passed. And that was such a load off my shoulders. I was so excited. Part of the reason that's so great is because that means we don't have to be inspected again until next summer. So it's like, whew, dodge that bullet, because otherwise I'd have been inspected again in a month. Not fun. So I was really excited to get that done. And again, that was a lot of relief to me. But I was already sick and miserable. And so that Saturday I got into work. This is true. So Saturday I had gone into work and um, just kind of had our normal day, ran some errands, had some fun, spent time with my husband. We come home, we sit down in the living room, and I look over at him and say, look, can we just jack the heat up? I'm cold. Um, I can be miserably cold on my feet. My hands can be numb. It doesn't matter. If my nose is cold, I am the most horrible, miserable person in the universe. My husband's making fun of me over there. To combat this and to keep my household sane and to keep from unduly punishing people who have no control over the weather, I knit myself a Noni Warmer.
In like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it took about 5 minutes. It is in Miss Babs, in the Fang colorway. It is both stylish and practical, but it kept my nose warm, yo. And that was great because when we came home Saturday and I asked him to jack up the heat, we realized we didn't have any heat. We had like no heat. Yeah, it was already, he says it was already jacked up. So true. So, just kind of freaking out about it. Oh my gosh, what do we do? Go down, look at the furnace, try to figure it out. You know how expensive new furnaces are? Not in the budget. Do you know what that does to a girl's yarn budget? Rhinebeck plans? Maryland sheep and wool plans? Just saying. Unacceptable. So, we literally froze our butts off. I had a nose warmer, so I escaped with my nose intact, thankfully. But we had no heat for the really freezing cold entire week. And it was miserable. It felt like we were going to the bathroom in an outhouse. Those of you country folk like me, you guys know what that means, right? You sit down and howl with the shock of how cold it is. Luckily, the animals, they all have fur coats. Me, not so much. And that allowed me to get even sicker. And then it went to my throat. And then it became congestion. And I have literally just been a miserable shrew. I'm sorry, babe. He put up with me spectacularly, though. And so we had this problem, like, all week, no heat, and one night he was on his way home, and I was going down to the basement to do something. I don't remember what it was. And as I was walking out, I heard water and thought, I can't believe the toilet's still filling up. I gotta go check that. And I realized, wait, there's no plumbing in this side of the house except for our radiant heat water system. So I started climbing back. The garage is where we store everything. And when we cleared out Mama's house after she passed away, all of the boxes and everything like that from her place came and still have not been fully unpacked. As in, not unpacked at all. So I started climbing behind boxes and moving stuff and find water on the floor. Well, dug around some more and ended up determining the whole reason, well, we weren't for certain. We knew a factor was that we had a plumbing leak in the heating system. But didn't realize until this weekend for sure when we were able to pull out all of the boxes and unpack everything and just go at it that we had a pipe that had split. So Jeannie's husband of mine and I go off to Lowe's. He gets the plumbing things. What are they?
Pipe and elbows.
He says pipe and elbows. I say tubey things and bendy things of the copper variety. And Bernie things, yes. And we had to, he had to solder the pipe, and I had to occupy the dogs, and 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 make pizza for dinner, frozen pizza for dinner. And so we got that done, and then the dogs, so much extra energy from not being able to play. So we actually, digging the holes again. So we actually fixed that pipe, bled the system, refilled the system, and then crossed our fingers in a wing and a prayer, fired it up, and nothing. It just sat there with its non-leaking water system and like full pipes and full oil drum mocking us. It's like, haha. So, lovely. So, we did a little bit more troubleshooting and determined we had yes, there was a difference. I hung a curtain up in our stairwell to try to keep heat in the living room because that's where we spend the majority of our time. Yeah, and so obviously heat rises, and we had a space heater in our bedroom, but the living room was getting like really cold. So I hung up a curtain to try to see if it would keep the heat from going up the stairs, and all of a sudden, man, the living room started getting pretty dang toasty with that space heater. So we didn't realize he goes in there and moves the thermostat up, and yeah, and the furnace isn't working. So we go through a little bit more troubleshooting, and all of a sudden it dawns on him, I didn't turn the thermostat up high enough. He goes down, turns it, furnace kicked in. So then we sat there like fiends watching the gauges and everything, trying to make sure it wasn't going to explode, because we have no idea. And like half an hour later, we had heat. We had like a warm house, and we were totally high-fiving each other, being like, yeah, baby, we homeownered. We rocked that.
No leaks.
Yeah, no leaks. His soldering or whatever it is, the hottie things that is not welding but not electronic soldering, that middle hot thing that they do for the pipes, it was awesome. Because now we are not leaking, and now we have heat again. But I still have sniffly nose, and I still have congestion and a sore throat, but it is loads better than when I was peeing in the outhouse.
We got the heat on just in time for this beautiful 63 degree.
Yes. If you couldn't hear him, he said we got the heat on just in time for this beautiful 63-degree day. I think it's like 65. I thought it was like 65, 66. Okay. So, yeah, last weekend, I was so worried about not having heat and so flippin' cold that I couldn't even bring myself to podcast. As a matter of fact, I brought out an entire big bag of whips. Because this is the only thing I have completed. And it's okay, but this is where I was mentally with the knitting. These two go together. Yeah, I did take a day off work. I took a sick day off work. And I slept in until 10:30, and then I proceeded to take 3 naps. And was still ready to go to bed. I told him, I've napped so much today, I don't even think I'm tired. We went upstairs, and I was like out in like 3 minutes. And I think that's actually helped a lot. But this is a scarf. It's the Prism scarf, or I'm sorry, Prism cowl. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. And basically you use a solid and a gradient. These are both Knit Picks. I cannot remember what the gray is, but this is Sugar Cookie. But this is just the Knit Picks Chroma fingering. And so you just do your knitting back and forth, alternating stripes. And at the end, you pick up all the way around and you do an edging, and it is a nice, long, lovely double loop cowl. And I said, I need something new to cast on. I'm so sick and miserable. I can't knit any of these projects. So I cast this on. Hit this point, was like, I'm so bored with this. It's just garter stitch. I am such a whiny shrew when I'm sick. My husband laughs knowingly. So I went from there to this scarf, which is one of the Christmas knitting projects I didn't finish. There's very few things that I didn't finish, but this is one of them, and I love it. It's the architecture scarf, and it is in Cloudborn fingering in charcoal heather, I believe, and I love this project, but I literally picked it up and went, I can't read the pattern, I don't know where I am, and I shoved it back in the bag. So that did not get worked on. And this. Oh. I need something indulgent. I'll just cast on my Miss Babs in the Mystery Girl colorway that I got for Christmas from my wonderful sister-in-law. I don't want to knit around anymore. What is wrong with me? Oh, I'm sick. The same thing. 4-stitch pattern repeat. I can't do it. Or, I'm sorry, 5-stitch pattern repeat 4 rows. The horror. So, we have what? 1, 2, 3 cowls, 1 scarf. Every time I say cowl, my husband says moo.
You don't usually say cowl.
Do you say cowl? I do not call them cows.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, then this. So simple. This is a pattern I've been working on, my own design, and I picked it up. I don't know what to do next, and I shoved it back in the bag. So we would be 1 scarf, 1 shawl, we're at 3 cowls. I feel like at some point, bells are going to start going ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. Didn't happen. Ooh. Sorry, I'm not drunk. I'm just drinking coffee. It's 4 o'clock in the evening. I'm drinking coffee. Coffee. What are you? Oh, you were not a project I started. You are all the colors for my Land of Sweets cowl for myself that we didn't cast on. And then here's the sock that is one of my whips. It's been one of my whips, but I tried to pick it up and knit a row on it and looked at the heel and couldn't wrap my mind around finishing the heel. So then that went away. So then I needed a 2-color shawl. Yeah. 2.5 inches of a 2-color shawl. Didn't want to work on that either. So here we have. Oh, and I did not even bring out the bag with my husband's gloves in it. So 1 pair of gloves, 1 sock, 2 shawls, 3 cowls, 1 scarf. And I had nothing to knit. I wanted to wind things. but I didn't feel like it. I wanted to knit things, but nothing I had. So it was miserable, but it's one of those things. You knit a Noni Warmer and don't call it a PPTP. It's a Noni Warmer. So sometimes you just got to go with it. And I was cold, and I didn't. I just didn't do a thing.
But you finished the project.
I did finish a project. Victory! So that has been like the last few weeks. And I do just feel like I have been an absolute hot mess. Oh, you know what? I just realized I did not go through the bags. The sock is living in my Fat Squirrel Fibers bag that I fell in love with because it had, see, the fox and the raccoon and the bunny are friends. I like them very much. And oh dear, there's a deer talking with a bunny. But that's the conversation I want in on. I want to know what the rabbit and the fox and the raccoon are planning. So, I love this. So cute. And there's a little owl hiding. I love that fabric. She did so well. And then, oh, my squirrel on a pulpit. I feel like he is preaching to that bunny. Maybe he's trying to make him a acorn convert or something. The bunny's like, no, leafy greens. So, my Fat Squirrel Fibers bag. This one is a Halloween bag. I don't know why I still have a Halloween bag out, but this is Freckled Whimsy. And you can find her on Etsy. The Fat Squirrel is at www. I believe it's Fat Squirrel Fibers at Big Cartel. Freckled Whimsy is Freckled Whimsy on Etsy. This is my favorite Freckled Whimsy Christmas bag. I fell in love with it because of the wolf on a sled. He's so happy. He's just sitting there. Kind of reminds me of my Tucker. Big bushy tail, white chest, just derping on a sled. Not even going there. Now he's going downhill. And then my cows are in, this is a Freckled Whimsy bag. I love Carrie Lynn, can you tell? And this scarf is just in a zippered, that's a zipper 30B1 bag. And this is the Heart House Creations. She pads her bags, so they kind of feel pretty thick. But I do like her bags. She does the square bottom. It will sit up if I ask it to. She chooses really cute fabrics, cute fun fabrics. And she is the Heart House Creations on Etsy. So that is what's been going on in my neck of the woods. There is one other thing I want to mention since, the whole knitting and spinning thing and whatnot has just been complete and utter failure. My husband has this cookbook, and I wanted to share something that I found in it. I had to pause for a minute because the dogs are going crazy. So my husband had gotten this book, and it is called The Foxfire Book of Appalachian Cookery. And this book is kind of awesome. This picture is the one that kind of got me interested in it. I don't know if you guys can see it. That looked like every family gathering growing up. Miscellaneous little cups of covered with tinfoil, and those Tupperwares with the ridged lids that you press down that center piece until it popped, and that's how you knew it was sealed. And that's like the Corningware type casserole dishes and stuff. It kind of got me. But they have information in here about making apple butter, which is something I've always wanted to do, and I just haven't done it. And I don't know why. I love apple butter. And now since we are really careful about what we eat, we eat a lot more protein. We eat very high protein. We try to do very low carbs. Um, and with that, I have found condiments are everything. Everything. Um, it because those are like all the little flavor pops, all the little impactful things that make something that might otherwise be bland delicious, like your herbs and your sauces and your condiments, different things like that. Things are so powerful in cooking. But I am interested to see what other people who are interested in apple butter do, because this instruction, this book has a lot of quotes from other people, from people in Appalachia, and it says, this is from Lucy York. She says, use tart apples such as Nancy June, horse apples, or transparents, as they cook up more quickly than sweet apples. Peel and core, cook till tender in a small amount of water. Mash, add crushed ginger root or cinnamon if available, sweeten with sorghum syrup. It will be the consistency of thick applesauce. I have never even heard of Nancy June's. Now, horse is capitalized, so I'm thinking that has to be a name. Um, but I know you have like crab apples, which you could grab crab apples and feed them to the neighbors. Hi, hon. Feed it to the neighbors' horses, but I don't know what transparents are. Never heard of a transparent apple. Maybe my kitchen is full of them and I just can't see them because they are transparent. I don't know. Does anybody know what transparent apples are? If you know, let me know, because I would absolutely love to hear it. The other thing is, they have a recipe in here. I love lime. I love margaritas, but I mean, I love lime. So they have this recipe in here for lime pickles. That sounds amazing. They have ripe tomato pickles, iceberg green tomato pickles, icicle pickles, cucumber, sweet bell, or green tomato icicle pickles. What are icicle pickles? Let's see, sweet dills, 13-day cucumber pickles. Sound amazing. And we'll just ignore things like the $1 million pound cake. We don't eat that. Or the caramel cookies. Or the puddings. Or the gooseberry pie. Gooseberry pie. Anyway, so I am very, very interested to try some of the items that's in here, but what I'm most interested in is there are a ton of chutneys and sauces and jams and jellies and all kinds of things like that we actually do eat now. And like I said, the things like when you're trying to eat like high protein, low carb, all of those intense flavors, you don't need much of them. They don't have that much of an impact as as an ingredient in your dish, but they just add so much. So I'm really excited to try some of these items. And again, all of this came from the Foxfire Book of Appalachian Cookery, the Foxfire Book of Appalachian Cookery, Regional Memorabilia and Recipes, a Foxfire Press book. So I believe this one is out of print. So you'll probably have to check it out either at the library or maybe get a copy secondhand. But the back page warms my heart. She said, the easiest one I bake is the plain old cake. I don't know nothing about this fancy cooking cakes. A lot of folks won't eat a pound cake or anything like that. They gotta have all this fancy doodads in it. I don't know how to cook those. I've never practiced. They're good, but too costly for me. I don't have all the ingredients to put in one of that kind. But I love pound cake. But the kind I usually make, not a pound cake, just a plain cake. But again, growing up, that looks like every dessert table at Christmas, Thanksgiving. Aunt Patricia always made the apple pie because the apple pie, well, it was my favorite, and because Aunt Patricia makes the most amazing apple pies. And Aunt Fran always made cherry pie and blueberry pie. Um, Mama used to make these filled sugar cookies that are kind of amazing. Um, I don't know how to explain them. They're kind of like a cross between a cake and a cookie, and they're thin, very pretty thin, and they're like that big around, big as my face, like 3 inches in diameter, about. And she would put pie filling in the middle of them and another one over top and a little X on the top, and she would make cherry and blueberry and apple. Um, those were my favorite cookies at Christmas. Also, Mama always made the potato salad. Nobody's potato salad compares to my mom's, and nobody can make it just like her, except me, and I don't eat potatoes anymore. So, it's crazy. So anyway, this book actually got me thinking a lot about family and nostalgia and just kind of thinking about those good times. And anyway, it's a very interesting book, so you should check it out if you have time. On my reading challenge that I talked about in the last episode, I have already finished one of the books in my reading challenge. It was How I Lost You. I can't remember the author off the top of my head, but I know when I first started getting sick and I didn't want to do anything, I picked up the book on my lunch break on Thursday and had finished it Friday evening because I wanted to do absolutely nothing but knit. I wanted to do nothing but knit, but I had the energy to do nothing but read. So I already finished that, and I am still working on The Last Days of Magic by Mark Tompkins. I think it's Mark Tompkins. And it's good. It's just the very beginning really grabbed me. Now that I'm like 5 or 6 chapters in, it's losing me. I think I need to just sit down when it's quiet and read that and see if I can get back into it. I think all of the stopping and starting that I'm doing, not getting very far, not making progress, and then kind of forgetting what I was reading when I go back into it is keeping me from having as much interest as I should or as I could in the book. Other than that, it is 4:18. The sun is starting to go down here and the temperature is starting to drop. So I'm getting a little chilly. I am going to go in the house. I'm sorry, knitting is a hot mess this week, and so was spinning. There was not a single thing spun. And that's okay. We homeownered successfully. Oh, I did do one other thing. I was making dinner the other night and decided I needed a side dish. I don't often do that. I don't know. I typically don't make side dishes. I don't need them. And in about 15 minutes, I whipped up a batch of fresh egg noodles. And they were amazing. I just, the real quick rundown, because it was so simple. So simple. So simple. I used my, I have a not marble, but like tile countertop area, and I put 2 cups of flour down and a teaspoon of salt, and I mixed the salt into the flour evenly. I just used my bench scraper to do that. Scooping it in, toss, scooping it in, toss, scooping it in, toss. Then I used a spoon. I made a little mound in the center, popped in 3 fresh eggs, and using my whisk, because that was easiest, I just kind of stirred right in the middle, allowing the eggs to mix and gather flour on their own as I mixed them. You just stir a little bit, stir a little bit, stir a little bit, and as you're doing that, it will come together eventually into a kind of a rough dough. At that point, I put about 2 tablespoons of butter in a pan, and I minced. I have a garlic press, so I pressed 1 clove of garlic into that mix, and like 2 teaspoons of parsley, dried parsley, and I just put that on low and let it kind of just melt and do its thing. And went back to the pasta. Um, okay, so time-wise. So I made the pasta first. The really tricky part is I do not have a pasta press. So what I did is just used very small batches. So it tells you to divide it into 4. I divided mine into 6, so they were smaller, and just rolled the heck out of them. You need to roll them as thin as you can possibly get them. So once you get all of the flour or most of the flour incorporated, I cleaned out the gunk, any bits of flour that didn't adhere into it, and started off with a little fresh flour. You need to knead it significantly. I kneaded mine for about 8 to 10 minutes solid. You want to do it until it looks kind of silky and it has good balance, and it just looks like a nice put together dough. So once I did that, at that point you want to let it rest for 45 minutes. That's when I started the garlic and butter mixture on the stove. And then after the 45, guys, they play so rough. So after 45 minutes of letting the dough rest, I cut it into the 6 pieces, and then I just rolled the heck out of them. You want to get them literally as thin as you possibly can. I got mine thin enough that the tile slab that I use, that I could actually see the tile patterning through the dough. You want it to be that thin. And anytime you get a sticky spot, you just sprinkle a little flour on it. Keep going, keep going. Thin as you possibly can. Once I had gotten them that thin, I just went back and forth with a pizza cutter. And that's what I used to make my noodles. And then you drop them into salted boiling water for 3 to 4 minutes. And I could have cooked mine a little bit more. Mine were on the thicker, the wider side. So I could have cooked them a little bit more. But they were delicious nonetheless. And then at the end, I just put a few in a bowl. Literally, it was like 20 noodles because that we had for dinner, because we just don't eat that much in the way of carbs. So just put like the 20 noodles in, poured the little garlic butter over it, tossed them, and onto the plate they went. And next to the roast pork or the baked pork that we had, it was pretty amazing. So that was my noodle adventure. Woohoo! I think that's about it. Again, this typically is a knitting and spinning podcast. Not today. Not for the last 2 weeks. But I will be back next week, and hopefully I will have some progress on at least one of these whips. My whips are whipping me right now. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next weekend. Bye!